Yeah, hello everyone. I'm very happy to be giving the speech today. It's a pity we can't meet in person, but thanks to the internet, we can still come together and talk. I have prepared my speech in writing to make it easier for the translators. As a result, it may appear a little dry, for which I apologize. Now, let's get started. Introduction and scope. Can you imagine living in a society where your voice is unheard, your opinions overlooked, and your perspectives marginalized? Unfortunately, this is the reality for many minority groups in various democratic societies. Among these, I wish to shine a spotlight on the Muslim community in Switzerland, an example that holds lessons for other European countries. Today, I will discuss the dynamics that shape this group's engagement in public discourse and the challenges that hinder their effective participation. We will explore the power of interfaith dialogue, particularly between Muslims and Christians, and its potential to bridge societal divides and promote mutual understanding. Moving on from interfaith dialogues, we will also look at interactions between minority groups themselves, particularly between Muslims and Jews. We will see how these dialogues serve as platforms for public discourse, enriching our democratic conversations with diverse voices. Our discussion will conclude with a look at a key piece of EU-level legislation for the protection of minority groups on digital platforms. This exploration will highlight the crucial role of law in shaping public discourse and ensuring minority participation. In a world that values diverse voices and opinions, can we afford to sideline any minority group from the public discourse? Let us navigate this crucial question together as we delve in the complex world of minority participation in public discourse. So, the problem analysis. Muslims are a minority population both in Switzerland and in the countries of the European Union as a whole. Although the exact figures vary from country to country, on average, Muslims make up around 5% of the total population in these regions. In countries like Switzerland and many others, the situation of the Muslim population is indeed complex.
Scusate, potete fermarvi perché ci sono due traduzioni in italiano. Una delle due dovrebbe non parlare.
I'm not sure what was talking.
Sono tutte e due le traduzioni inglesi che parlano italiano. Grazie. Ok, grazie. Scusa, Ramazan.
Okay, thank you. In countries like Switzerland and many others, the situation of the Muslim population is indeed complex, especially when it comes to expressing their views. According to a Swiss study, since 2015, the focus has increasingly shifted to radicalization and terror, 54%, while aspects such as integration and everyday life are neglected, 2% each. Discussions about Islam and Muslims often take place in their absence, resulting in a public discourse that is about them rather than with them. But we cannot blame journalism alone. It would be too simplistic to see this as the only factor perpetuating this inequality. The reality is that the Muslim community itself faces many barriers to its active participation in public discourse. Many Muslims struggle with limited resources.
Sorry, Ramazan.
Yeah.
Could you speak more slowly, please?
Okay, I do that.
Yeah.
These may be financial, time, or educational. This lack of resources hinders their ability to actively participate in public debate and contributes to the perpetuation of this unequal discourse. Added to this are discriminatory stereotypes and language barriers. In order to address this problem appropriately and pragmatically, it is essential to implement fundamental structural solutions. In my speech, however, I will focus specifically on the issues of empowerment, dialogue, and legislation, as these are of great importance. I will not address other areas as they are outside the scope of this particular speech. Let's start with empowerment. In recent years, we've seen a positive trend in Europe. The formation of Islamic structures that are increasingly visible in the public sphere. In Switzerland, although these structures have no formal recognition under public law, many cantons and even the federal government recognizes them as a social partner. This recognition is an important step towards institutional integration, particularly in the field of spiritual care. These structures are increasingly taking on the task of participating in public discourse and working with the media.
Sorry, Ramazan, again. Io parlo in italiano per le traduzioni. Potrebbe una di lingua inglese tradurre sul canale italiano, per favore? Perché non c'è la traduzione. Una delle due, grazie. Sorry again.
Okay, thank you. In addition, many Swiss or European-born Muslims who identify strongly with these countries are asserting their presence in the public sphere. Their visibility promotes greater understanding and acceptance among different social groups. Nevertheless, we must confront persistent barriers such as lack of resources, which hinder the active participation of Muslims in the public discourse on Islam. In response to this challenge, my colleagues and I, with the support of the Swiss government, launched the We Are Also Here project in Switzerland. This initiative focuses on empowering Muslim youth by giving them the skills to work with the media, engage with political figures, and actively contribute to their communities. We are currently piloting this project, and early indications are promising. It focuses on active citizenship. We want them to raise their voice, share their perspectives, and actively shape public discourse. There are similar projects in other parts of Europe. It's a positive step for our participatory democracy. Now the next slide. And now let's talk about dialogue between Muslims and Christians. Furthermore, interfaith dialogue between Muslims and Christians provides an important platform. This dialogue is not just a discussion of religious beliefs, but also serves to strengthen relations between communities, break down stereotypes and prejudices, and promote mutual understanding and respect. It enables participants to work together to solve social problems and have a positive impact on their communities. Dialogue creates a safe space where difficult issues and misunderstandings can be discussed openly, which in turn helps to improve mutual understanding. In this context, the value and need for interfaith dialogue becomes particularly clear. It serves as a platform that enables Muslims to actively participate into public discourse. This form of dialogue is not just a theoretical concept, but rather a practical tool that provides Muslims as well as other religious communities with a much needed space to articulate their beliefs, ideas, and experiences. It makes room for a more balanced conversation, one that includes the voices of those who have traditionally been marginalized or silenced. It moves from a model of talking about to a model of talking with, thereby promoting a more inclusive and representative discourse. Importantly, the opportunity for Muslims and other minority groups to express their voices and share their perspectives is not only beneficial to these communities. It plays a vital role in the wider social context by encouraging the active participation of all citizens, regardless of their religious affiliation. This kind of inclusive dialogue fosters diversity of thought, a fundamental pillar of any democratic society. And now I will share with you an observation of mine. dialogical caritas and diaconia. Interfaith dialogue also has great potential in the context of asylum. It can help to promote integration, build self-confidence, and create a culture of welcome. In Switzerland, for example, the Focolare movement works actively with Muslim refugees, especially those from Turkey. The Focolare's method of dialogical communication, what we might call in this context dialogical caritas, with Muslim refugees, is a model that can inspire and guide other communities. It shows how active listening, empathy, acceptance, and openness can open up new dimensions of integration. This approach recognizes the uniqueness of each individual and sees refugees not as passive recipients of aid, but as active participants with their own contributions, experiences, and stories that can enrich society. In the practice of Caritas and the Diaconia, the active inclusion of the perspectives and needs of those affected is indispensable. Dialogical Caritas focuses on inclusive dialogue that expands the life and agency of those affected. This approach avoids paternalism and focuses instead on understanding the needs of those concerned, a realization of Jesus' question to the blind Bartimaeus, what do you want me to do for you? And another point, let's talk about dialogue between minorities. Interfaith dialogue between minority groups, such as Muslims and Jews, increases their participation in public discourse. By forming alliances, these groups can unite their voices to combat anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and other forms of discrimination and prejudice. The dynamics of interfaith alliances between these minority groups offer unique opportunities. Such dialogue fosters mutual understanding and acceptance, thereby promoting social solidarity. The alliances formed through dialogue become vehicles that enable these groups to effect change both within their communities and in society as a whole. In Switzerland, for example, Muslims and Jews face a number of challenges, including the rise of hate and discrimination on the internet. The Respect project, in which I have been involved since its beginning, an initiative that has fostered an interfaith alliance between the Jewish and Muslim communities for over a decade, provides a model of overcoming such challenges. Through workshops, interfaith celebrations, and public statements, the Respect project not only raises awareness of the prejudices faced by both groups, but also promotes understanding of their shared values. By pooling resources and knowledge, the project effectively counters misleading narratives and promotes a social discourse that respects religious diversity and fosters mutual understanding. Looking ahead, we hope to see the continued growth and development of such alliances with further collaboration and dialogue. We anticipate that these groups will continue to advocate for their rights and deepen social understanding of their beliefs and values, thereby fostering a more inclusive public discourse. And last but not least, law and minority voices. While the digital public sphere offers new opportunities for expression and engagement, it also poses significant challenges, particularly of minority groups. While social media platforms have democratized opinion sharing, allowing a wide range of people to participate in discourse, they have also unintentionally become channels for disinformation, fake news, and conspiracy theories. These negative phenomena spread rapidly within so-called bubbles, the digital environments where algorithms curate content that reinforces users' existing beliefs and prejudices. This can lead to polarized perspectives and an echo chamber effect. This dynamic can be particularly dangerous for minority groups. These bubbles can also amplify harmful stereotypes, stigmatizing narratives, and prejudiced views about these groups. Such reinforcements of negative beliefs can fuel discrimination, both online and offline, and make minorities the targets of hate speech or cyberbullying. The spread of disinformation may distort the public's perception of these groups, thereby undermining their efforts to participate fully and authentically in public discourse. A positive step in this direction is the European Union's Digital Services Act, DSA, which was passed last year. This legislation aims to democratize the digital landscape by requiring greater transparency and accountability, particularly in the area of targeted advertising and recommender systems. The algorithms behind these systems can often amplify polarizing content and create echo chambers, leading to a more divided society. The provisions of the DSA help to expose these invisible dynamics and allow users to understand why they see certain content, fostering a more informed and discerning digital citizenry. The DSA also includes provisions to protect minority groups, including religious communities. In conclusion, laws such as the DSA helps shape a more equitable digital sphere, protecting minority interests and ensuring that social media enhances rather than undermines democratic dialogue. This law is an example of why the EU's role in the digital public sphere is so important. Now to conclusion. In conclusion, the vital essence of democratic societies is dialogue, which requires the courage and willingness to cross boundaries, to understand and move beyond entrenched positions. The democratic process relies on open conversations with a variety of stakeholders and requires an environment conducive to open and respectful conversation. Interfaith dialogue serves as an invaluable platform that promotes the free exchange of ideas, beliefs, and life experiences, thereby fostering mutual understanding and cooperation among different religious groups. As our society becomes increasingly digital, regulation must ensure that digital platforms are equitable and accessible, allow for fair representation of all groups, and protect against misinformation and discrimination. Through these efforts, we can move towards a society where every voice, regardless of religion or ethnicity, is heard, valued, and contributes to a robust, flourishing democracy.